these bad hotels. I think that's very deserving. I'm not giving up on this team. Is that ridiculous? No. What did Riley Rod think of the game? You guys can talk to Riley Rod. Riley Rod, get over here right now. Riley Rod, you're gonna get in the chair. I'll be back in like 20 seconds, chat. Dude, am I dying? Bro, what is going on? Bro, what the? Yo! No way! No way! Go, baby! Let's go!
Riley Rod, why are you such a tool? I'm not a tool, man.
Let's go! Hey! Get high! No way! No way! No way! No way! No way! Grand slam! Let's go! What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Unhinged Live. As usual, I'm your host, Patrick Hensey, joined tonight by the man himself. We got Ken Waldichuk. He's one of the Yankees' top 10 prospects. He's a pitcher, left-handed pitcher at that. Ken, how are we doing tonight?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
Listen, as everyone knows, I can't complain. If you're complaining about life, like, dude, life is good. No reason to complain. I'm so glad you're doing good. But listen, chat, I appreciate you all for stopping by tonight. You guys are all legends. So how are we going to do it tonight? Obviously, usually I rely heavily on you guys for questions, comments, concerns. But tonight, I'm going to be asking majority of the questions. Sorry, not sorry. But we will still kind of rely on you guys for questions. Just throw them out. Throw out some questions for Ken. We'll take them kind of sporadically, and then we'll hit on a bunch towards the end of the stream. But the whole main goal of tonight is to kind of understand Ken Waldichuk, the mind, the career, the journey. So yeah, I guess we'll kind of start things off by kind of talking about your upbringing in baseball. I know you're from San Diego. You went to St. Mary's College. Left-hand pitcher, what was that kind of like your first experience in the game of baseball?
Oh, like as in growing up playing
Yeah.
down here. I mean, I never took it really too seriously until it's probably like I want to say going into high school. So I kind of played Little League up until the age of 13. And I played pony ball for a year, which is usually like a little more competitive. And then I played like 4 years of travel ball, and then that kind of led into my college. So yeah, most of playing baseball for me was kind of just having fun. I'd play other sports in the off seasons like basketball, football, even a little tennis.
Yeah. So, okay, question. Were you always a pitcher? Like throughout I guess pony ball you're kind of getting thrown to, right? But kind of like high school, were you a pitcher for the most part?
I never really focused on pitching until my sophomore year. So I'd throw like maybe 15, 20 innings a year. I'd probably throw about 70 miles an hour.
Listen, if I'm being honest with you, in high school, if someone's throwing 70 miles per hour to me, I'm swinging and missing every single time. Like that's just how it's going. No, but that's awesome. So you grew up in San Diego, right? As many of the viewers in the stream know, I'm in love with San Diego. I've never been there. But we were kind of talking one day about because I want to move from New York. That's just the goal one day. And so many people are like, Pat, San Diego is like the best place to live. How do you like San Diego?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, there's a lot to do. There's super good food. It's beautiful. I like to say it's like kind of similar to LA, but it's like a lot less like chaotic. Like there's not as much people.
That's what I hear. It's kind of just like LA, but less crazy, which is awesome. So I don't know if this is like secret information, but coming from San Diego, I'm assuming grow up Padres fan, right?
I actually grew up a Giants fan. My dad grew up in the Bay Area, so it's kind of like 50-50. And the only reason I like the Padres was for Khalil Green, who was their shortstop back then.
Name.
Yeah,
that's a name I haven't heard in a while.
And then they like traded him away when I want to say like in like third or fourth grade, and then I was like, I hate the Padres. I can't.
Oh man.
I was like, I'm going to full-time Giants.
Around like what year? How old are you?
Right now I'm 23.
Okay, cool. So if I'm kind of like putting perspective into that, like that's prime Barry Bonds, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Hall of Famer now.
I think he is. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm on like that same boat. I'm kind of looking at all these guys just because I'm a huge A-Rod guy. And I'm looking at
Hmm.
A-Rod, I'm looking Bonds, I'm looking Clemens. Put them in the hall. Like, obviously, no one's
Yeah.
listening to this that's going to make that happen. But I think
Yeah.
it's about time. I'm also looking at guys like Pete Rose. It needs to happen sometime. Um, but yeah, awesome. So then once you head to college, you played there for 3 years before being drafted, right? What was that kind
Hmm.
of experience like? Were you expecting to be drafted eventually? Were you kind of just playing college for fun? Just kind of what was the goal there?
Oh yeah. Heading in, I was a preferred walk on. So I had academic money there, and so I could afford it. And he said like I'd have a fair chance of being on the team and everything. So going in, I was just looking to make the team and like just have fun playing. And then I want to say probably midway through my sophomore year, I kind of had a pretty good start to the year. And then that was when like the reality of like, all right, I might actually get drafted and like be able to do this
Is that
kind of set
nerve-wracking at
in.
all? Like just realizing that you're
Um,
actually good?
Probably not. It was a lot more relief than nerve wracking just because of all those career fairs. I like kind of I was taking them pretty seriously going into that year,
Did you have
my
a
junior
backup
year.
plan?
Oh yeah, I've actually have went back and finished my degree, so I'm a finance or I have a
Oh,
degree in
wow.
business finance from St.
So
Mary's
you're
now.
you're good at math is what you're telling me.
Yes and no.
Okay. Because listen,
Some
as
math.
anybody who views a stream knows, I'm probably the worst person at math you'll ever see. Like someone will ask me, like, Pat, what's 5 times 15? I'll have to whip out pen and paper just because it's brutal stuff. It's brutal stuff. But that's awesome. So you went back and finished while you were still in the minors?
Yeah, during the pandemic.
Oh,
With
that
that canceled season. Yeah,
that's the perfect time because everything's online.
yeah.
You're chilling. Okay, awesome. So then you were drafted by the Yankees in 2019. After playing 3 years at St. Mary's College. Now, I love asking everybody about their draft day experience, just because everyone has so many different stories. Some people aren't even paying attention, and some people are waiting with their whole families. So, what was your experience like? Like, what was the reaction when you found out that you were drafted by the Yankees?
I was probably more relieved than ever anything. Just
I
I was
think
gonna
you're
say, am
good now.
I still here?
Yeah, you just cut out for like a second. Can you hear me? Technical difficulties, chat. Don't mind us. So, chat, how's everyone's day going? In the meantime, listen, chat. In the meantime, let's chill. Chat, how's everyone's night going? Hold on one second. All right, chat, give me some questions. Let's talk. Lori said that was good while it lasted. Trust me. It'll come back. Trust me. All right, but chat, in the meantime, you know what? I'm blaming someone. I'm blaming someone in the chat because I saw a comment before things started here, and they were like, "Oh, what happens if it lags out?" I blame you. Whoever said that, I'm blaming you, bro. But yo, I think we got Ken back.
All
How are
right,
we doing, my
I'm
man?
back. Not too bad. Sorry about that. Got a
Yeah. So
call. Um, where was I again?
no, I say we start things from the top. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know if you could hear what I was saying, but someone in the chat, I saw a comment in the chat
Hmm.
like right before we went live, and they were like, "Oh, imagine it lags out." I'm blaming that person for this, 100%. We were talking about your draft day experience.
Yeah, yeah. It was just a lot of a relief, and then to know I was like going to a really good organization, like the Yankees, like where they focus on player development a ton, and like it's just the fan base is like super great and everything. Like I was pretty pumped.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not trying to like roast other teams' fan bases here, but you know, a draft pick for a team like the Rays, you obviously aren't getting as much attention and recognition as a draft pick by the New York Yankees. You're drafted in the fifth round, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So now hypothetically, right? Let's say you weren't drafted. Let's say you were drafted in a later round. Was your plan to kind of stay in college for the 4th year, or if you were drafted by any team in any round, were you still going to be taking that option there?
I think for the most part, I was thinking as long as I got over like slot or maybe a little more, like, but yeah, anything like I probably would have left.
Were you expecting like the Yankees to draft you? Like, were you kind of prepared for it, or was it a little bit of a shock?
I actually really had no idea until the day of the draft. Funny enough,
Really?
yeah. So leading into it, I heard other teams were interested, and then the day of, they're like, "Yeah, the Yankees are really interested, like taking today." Like,
That's awesome.
yeah.
I mean, listen, we know the Yankees love their left-handed pitching. We're well aware of that. Um, but yeah, so kind of after that, and I guess kind of before that, like even through college and all. I know you mentioned favorite team Giants, but I'm sure you were a fan of some other players in the league. Was there any player like watching that you kind of like molded your game after? Because I kind of watch your wind up, right? And I think that it's so unique, but I still see like a few touches of like other top pitchers in baseball history in there. Is there anyone that you kind of like molded your game after?
I haven't. I really liked watching Bumgarner. I mean, obviously because Giants
Yeah.
fan, and guy was just like, he's just really gritty. Like, can always like trust him. So that's kind of like what I kind of like live off of, just trying to be like grittier than the other guy.
That's what I love. Listen, like we always say, like, bro, the grittier the better. You know what I'm saying? But if I'm thinking about this, right? So 2014 was the year where Bumgarner kind of did his heroics in the playoffs.
Hmm.
Now, for some reason, I find myself doing math again. If you're 23 in 2021, that was 7 years ago. You were 16, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Glad my math worked out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess you were in high school at that point. So I guess
Yeah.
we kind of credit like Madison Bumgarner for you becoming like a stud with the Yankees. That I think that's what the math kind of correlates to there. Um, but yeah, so I guess now that we're kind of looking at it, right? So 2019, after you were drafted by the Yankees, obviously when you're drafted by a team, in case anyone in the chat doesn't know, you don't really go directly into like their minor league system. You head to rookie ball, right? So I guess towards the end of the 2019 season, you were sent off to the Appalachian League, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay,
To the Pulaski Yankees.
gotcha. So what was that experience like? Kind of shifting from college ball to the Pulaski Yankees. Like, what's the difference in kind of competition and just lifestyle between those two?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, summer. I felt like pro ball was kind of similar to like summer ball, like a summer collegiate league. It's a lot different than college, like, or like high school. Like, you're living on your own. Like, you have to stick to your schedule. It kind of just comes down to like how responsible you are.
Yeah,
So after playing summer ball for a couple of years, I was kind of used to playing away from home, having played on the East Coast the 2 summers before that. Um, but yeah, it kind of like just as long as you followed the schedule, and like kind of just got everything done, it was
yeah.
pretty easy.
So you're lucky, right? Because in I guess during the summer, and the spring, you're kind of on the East Coast, right? With the Yankees organization, and then in the off season, you're in San Diego. So you miss out on those great East Coast winters, right?
Hmm.
Brutal.
Yeah,
But honestly, to be honest with you, it hasn't been that bad this year. Like we're kind of still in like the 50s, and it's almost mid-December. But everyone likes to jinx everything, even though jinxes aren't real. So tomorrow's probably gonna snow like 15
yeah.
feet.
Tomorrow it's gonna
Um,
snow and be 30 degrees.
yeah, no, basically. So okay, so then after that, heading into 2020, obviously we know how 2020 kind of went down. But I love asking people the same question too. How was that? Because obviously you're heading into the 2020 season expecting it to be your first full season in the Yankees organization. And
Hmm.
then COVID hits, the pandemic hits. How does that impact you? Not only mentally, but physically as well, because that's a whole year where you're not facing live hitting. Just kind of guide me through that. Maybe your reaction to finding out that the season was canceled. And kind of just the steps you took during, I guess, the pandemic to make sure that you were fresh going into 2021.
Oh yeah. Let's see. I was kind of down in weight actually that year, so I was only weighing in around like 205 pounds, which for most of my pro career I've been like 220, 230. So I wasn't really throwing too hard. So I kind of used the pandemic to like try to put on weight, which was hard in the beginning because like every gym was closed, especially in California.
Yeah.
So, so yeah, it was just in the beginning it was hard. It was just all at home workouts, and it was me and my brother throwing like plyo balls into a like weighted baseballs into a net in the backyard, just trying to figure stuff out. Um, and once I was ramped up, I like threw a bullpen. I was like 86 to 88. I was like, oh boy, I gotta, I gotta
Is
figure
that
things
when you
out.
decide to go back to school? You're like, oh, maybe this isn't going to
Nah,
be working
nah.
out.
I planned that probably months after.
Gotcha.
But so like we started like this whole velo program with the Yankees. I was able to find a place to like lift. And I just kind of made my goal the off season just to learn how to throw hard, and kind of just locked in, like slept 9 to 10 hours a night, no fast food, just went to a clean diet, and yeah, stuff started just progressively climbing. Like I'd be 86, 88, and the next week I was 88, 90. And the week after that I was like 90, 92, and before I knew it was like 93, 94.
Big sigh of relief. I'm
Yeah,
sure. Big sigh of relief.
huge. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that that's something that a lot of people don't realize, right? Especially kind of looking back at 2020, we saw so many guys in the major leagues kind of have like some of the worst seasons of their career. And I don't think a lot of people realize that like while we were home, so were you guys. And kind of losing out,
Mhm.
especially minor leaguers, because there was no minor league season at all in 2020. You guys lost out on a full season of progression in a very crucial time in your careers. Especially like you, for example, that was going to be your first full minor league season. So I find that very interesting. But so then heading into 2021, obviously now this was going to be your first full season in the
Mhm.
Yankees organization, and you start off in Hudson Valley. So you kind of want to like, I don't know, maybe kind of describe your experience in Hudson Valley. I guess what kind of adjusting back from that missing the 2020 season, and then finally after playing rookie ball in 2019, finally being able to face a minor league competition, what that was like for you.
It was definitely a shift. Spending all of 2020, it's more like of a development style of pitching. Seeing like how hard you could throw the ball or how much you can make a breaking ball break. It was more kind of shifted my focus from like how nasty can I make my stuff into all right, can I get guys out with this stuff now? So like that was probably the biggest like change. Is kind of trying to remember how to do that because I hadn't played in a real game in 2 years.
Yeah.
So
If I'm being honest with you, though, Ken, like you say it's a shift, it didn't seem like it was that difficult of a shift because I kind of have your numbers here. From the start of the season in Hudson Valley here, 7 games, which equated to 30 and 2/3 innings. You didn't give up a single run. So after kind of not pitching at all in 2020, you kind of start the 2021 season like with a bang. So clearly that shift wasn't too difficult for you, right? Like not to toot your own horn, but right?
yeah, I mean I think I was able to my stuff like kind of played a lot better in high A.
Mhm.
So I did have a couple games where were pretty ugly where I'd start the game with like 7 straight balls or that was kind of what I was known for is like letting the leadoff guy get on and just figuring out how to get out of that inning. And then after that, it was like fine.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right? But
Yeah.
also, I guess we could kind of look at it like I know how we mentioned in 2020 you missed a full season of progression. So did hitters. And I think if you kind of look at it from the opposite way, it's probably a lot more difficult as a hitter to kind of go back without facing live pitching after a year than it is for a pitcher to go back and not face live hitting for a year, right?
Yeah, definitely. Especially because like when pitchers take time off, we're kind of like labbing, we're gaining velo, we're trying new stuff with breaking balls, all that. As a hitter, like I mean, they only really have access to live ABs when the pitchers are all throwing, which
Yeah.
was maybe I want to say for 10 weeks out of the pandemic,
Mhm.
like a little in the beginning to stay ready, and then once the season was canceled, everyone shut down and didn't ramp up again until like a month or two before spring training. So that definitely probably harder to like get better and like stay like sharp as a hitter than it is to be sharp as a pitcher.
No, yeah, for sure. Like we said, I probably can't even hit like 50 miles per hour at this point. But
It's
yeah,
all right, me
so
neither.
after have you hit like in the minor leagues? Probably not, right?
No. I've messed around a little bit hitting in the off season just because my brother's a two-way player
Oh,
up at Willamette University, like a
okay.
D3 school in Oregon. So I
So
kind of hit
next
with him
Shohei
like,
Ohtani.
yeah, he would get like 30 minutes in a cage and be like, all right, whatever you can't hit, like I'll hit. Every once in a while, we'd like have a exit velo competition in the backyard into like hitting it off a tee into a net. But yeah, that was the extent of my hitting though.
So I guess last time you really like hit against live pitching would be like college then, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, hopefully you don't end up on a National
Or
League team
actually,
anytime
no,
soon.
not even college. High school. I took BP in
Oh
college
wow.
a couple
So
times, but
so you didn't hit in college?
no.
Oh, okay. Wow, so it's been a while. It's been a while. Okay, so after kind of dominating Hudson Valley, you got the call up to the Yankees Double A affiliate, the Somerset Patriots. And I guess you could say you had a good stint there. That's where you spent like the majority of your season. Obviously the competition, I'm sure, was a lot more tough than what you kind of faced in High A. What was that shift like? Because personally, obviously, I don't really know what the shift is like, but I'd probably say that the shift from high A to double A is a lot more difficult than the shift from rookie ball to high A, right?
Yeah. Double A was definitely like kind of like a learning experience. Um, like guys were a lot like more experienced. So in high A, I feel like the average age might have been like my age, like 22, 23. Up in double A, it's like there's guys that are like in their 30s, which is
Yeah,
like my
I'm
first
sure.
time kind of playing against like that kind of competition where they've like seen it all. Like if you aren't like executing like your pitches, like they'll get you no matter how good you are. Which is kind of a learning experience because if you're going to play in the big leagues, they've seen Aroldis Chapman throw 105 miles an hour. They've seen the best sliders. So it really like came down to like if you could execute better and like if you could follow a game plan, make a scouting report, and then just let your stuff play, pretty much.
Yeah, and I feel like that's probably the most important thing, right? Like when you do get called up to the higher levels, kind of not getting discouraged if you do have those growing pains, because you kind of just have to understand that it's kind of a part of the learning experience. Because I'm sure as you keep going up the levels, the competition is going to keep getting harder and harder. Because a lot of the guys in the major leagues, they do rehab in Double A. But speaking of kind of rehabbing in Double A, did you kind of see any current Yankees during your time in Double A, kind of rehabbing down there, kind of going down there to get any work in?
Oh yeah, we had a decent amount with our organization. The Patriots just had a really really good facility, so it's kind of where like everyone would go to rehab. Yeah, pitcher wise, we had Severino, Kluber, Wandy Peralta, Zach Britton was there. That was before I was called up.
Gotcha.
Clark Schmidt. So it's cool again to see like how they all go about like their stuff and like their business and their warm ups, recovery, how they lift, and then like their pregame routines, obviously.
No, yeah. I mean, that's always why I say like I'd love to be like a fly on the wall in like the major league clubhouse because you take all of those personalities and put them in one room. I can only imagine kind of like the banter that goes on between them, kind of like the hitting discussion, like a fly on the wall in a room where Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton are talking about hitting. It's probably very, very interesting. But it's funny you say Kluber because not so family fun vision in the chat. So okay, but really he looks exactly like Kluber. If I'm being honest with you guys, I don't see it. Chat, let me know if you actually think he looks like Kluber. Have you ever gotten that before?
I don't know if I have. I
That's
get
a
Elon
first.
Musk a lot. Uh,
Oh, I see
Trying to
it.
think of what else.
Elon Musk with facial
That's
hair,
the main
though.
one. Yeah. Well,
Gotcha.
because we're
Wow,
clean shaven in season.
that's a good one. That's a really good one. Elon Musk. I'm gonna write that down. um, yeah. So Somerset was obviously an awesome opportunity for you. And then kind of going after that, end of the season, right? So how do you kind of look back on the 2021 season? Do you view it as being very successful for yourself? Do you think that it was maybe a great growing experience that you could take a lot of learning experiences from and take it into 2022?
Yeah, probably the latter. I think there's a lot of ups and downs. Um, After like starting the season so hot, and then when I first got called up, there was like a little bit of a struggle, and then I kind of found my groove, and then at the end of the year, I struggled a little more. I kind of just had to work through that. So like, I mean, if it was good a good year like all around, then I'd have nothing to take in the off season. So it's good to have some stuff to work on that.
Yeah, no, I'm sure. I mean, it's kind of just, I guess you kind of relate it to everything in life, right? And obviously I don't kind of understand the process of kind of adjusting to a new league and stuff, but I think you take that into everyday life, someone adjusting to a new job or a new position. It's obviously going to take some time to get through the growing pains, but then once you do, it feels like you're kind of well adjusted to that area. We have a dono in the chat. Shout out to Yankees News with Ruben with the $5 dono. Appreciate you, my man. He has a question for Ken. He says, do today's young starting pitchers aim for 200 plus innings? How do you feel about starters facing a lineup 3 times?
Yeah. I think this year, since like with the whole shutdown and everything, is a little more weird. I haven't really looked too much into like what happened prior, but I want to say like the most innings thrown was like 130, 140. Which the goal is obviously to be able to throw 200 innings though.
Yeah.
But I'm sure next year people will throw more because like they'll be actually built up. I think a lot of organizations were just scared with like a year off from competition, like if guys would be able to like handle that workload. And then so facing hitters 3 times, I want to say that was like probably usually where we would like get cut off. So like you would make it a 3rd time through if you were throwing well. And then usually around that 4th time was like if you got into trouble, it went to the pen.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, so after the 2021 season, kind of like how we mentioned, solid learning experience for you. And then I think, not really too sure when the rankings came out, but MLB Pipeline, they ranked you as the Yankees' number 9 overall prospect. Now, stuff like that's very interesting to me, just because I'd love to kind of hear if that affects you at all mentally. Now, some guys, they could kind of look at their ranking and be like, oh, like I've kind of done what I need to do. I'm in the top 10. Now I might take a step back. Or you kind of take it the opposite way and be like, I'm only number 9. Like, I want to be higher. Or you could take it another way and be like, I don't really care. So what are your kind of thoughts as being ranked as the Yankees number 9 prospect?
Yeah, it's I mean, it's obviously an honor. But for me, it's like the goal is like to make it to the big leagues. So like it's kind of like you can be the number 9 prospect for like so long, but like what are you doing like eventually? Like it's more about measuring like where your ceiling is, and I'm kind of worried about like reaching the ceiling.
I love that. I love hearing that, just because it's kind of just like that mentality where it's like you're never done. Like if someone was, obviously, I mean, I think it's fair to be happy being ranked as like the Yankees number 9 prospect, because that's something that I'm
Yeah.
never coming close to. It's nothing that the average person is ever coming close to. But kind of looking at it in the grand scheme of things, like your job is far from finished. I think the way you could kind of look at it, I guess, is kind of like a team making the postseason. And like, sure, if you win the wild card game, that's cool, but your job is far from finished. It's like you could celebrate that moment, but the job is not done. So I think obviously that's a great mentality to have, to kind of look at that. And if I was in that position, I would probably use that as motivation, just because I'm number 9. You could only go up from there. And then if you look at just the quality of competition that's kind of surrounding you, like in the top 10 with guys like Anthony Volpe and Jason Dominguez, it's a great class to be in a great organization that has an overwhelming amount of deep prospects. But yeah, so kind of going based on that, kind of looking at like the current state of the game. The offseason has kind of been a whirlwind so far. The MLB is in a lockout, but that doesn't affect you at all, right?
Yeah, it's only people in the 40 man. So
Gotcha.
so yeah, I'm still allowed to like have contact with the coaches and everything.
Yeah, that was my main question, because you kind of look at all the guys on the 40-man roster, and I don't think that they, especially guys who are injured and rehabbing, I believe that they're not available to have access to like team-related facilities or doctors or whatnot. So that stuff is brutal. But as far as the minor league baseball, you guys are. So that's a huge help, especially like we mentioned so many times, coming off of your first full season since 2019. I think that's very important. But kind of talking about minor league baseball a little bit more. Not really too sure about the whole details of it, but we did find out information this offseason that minor leaguers are now going to be provided housing, and I think food as well, I believe, throughout the 2021 season, which I
Mhm.
think is awesome because this is something that's not only discussed like across the baseball world, but also just the world in general. Just the poor conditions that many minor leaguers are treated in. So, do you think that this is something that's going to affect minor league baseball in a positive way as far as having the players be more comfortable? Maybe they're not going to have to be as stressed. Maybe they're going to be able to focus more on their craft than kind of worrying about where their next meal or their next bed's going to come from.
Yeah, I think it's definitely huge. A lot of our paychecks in organizations where we don't, where housing was not covered, was most of the check was going towards housing actually.
Wow.
So at least for us, um, probably about like $300 out of our 600 a week would be going to housing. So
Wow.
just to be able, yeah, just have like that money like freed up and like and spend on food, training, like recovery gear, anything. It's gonna be great. And then the stress of not having to book a hotel as well, like is having all of that covered and just being able to solely focus on like baseball and having that flexibility I mentioned earlier, like I think it's gonna have a great impact.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people don't realize that, right? I think they kind of look at minor league baseball players and they're like, "Oh, they're not in the majors. They don't really deserve the same amenities." But the whole thing is, you guys are working to get there, and in order to work to get there, you need to be dedicating a full-time job out of that. Like being a minor league baseball player is a full-time job and then some. Because even in the off
Mhm.
season, when you guys aren't necessarily playing games, you're training for the next season. And in the off season, many guys have to get kind of jobs on the side. Like I've talked to numerous minor leaguers and they have to get part-time jobs in order to make ends meet. So the fact that at least they're starting to kind of give you guys a little bit more amenities and a little bit more comfort as far as that goes, I think that's awesome. And it should have been done a long time ago. I don't know it took so long, but better late than never, I guess. But yeah, so kind of like looking at you as a left-handed pitcher, right? Now, I'm not trying to give any leaked scouting reports here, but is there like one of the pitches in your repertoire that you just love going to? Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be like your most consistent pitch, but just the one that you love
Mhm.
throwing the most.
Definitely love throwing fastballs. Probably too many to a fault. But yeah, I think it's just awesome, like getting like a punch out on a fastball. Yeah, I think it's just like me versus you. Just here it is, hit it.
Yeah. So I
That's
guess
definitely my favorite.
with that kind of being said, right? I guess it kind of relates to this. Past or present, give me one hitter in the major leagues that you would, well, yeah, past or present, that you would love to go up against, just for the sole competitive aspect of it.
Any hitter.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a tough one. uh, let's see. I mean, I think it'd be really cool to face Mike Trout. Um,
Yeah.
just to be able to say he did. Uh, maybe like Albert Pujols. I guess that would be like my like second or like my more like under the radar pick.
Yeah. And
Uh,
obviously it would end with
just because
a,
like the whole mental game like behind that like matchup and like he's still good against lefties too. So like you could like
yeah,
say I got to pick his brain after and be like, all right, what were you thinking? Like this was your approach. Was I tipping anything? Stuff like that.
but it ends with a K, right?
I don't know about that. I would have
um,
to. I would have to actually face him.
we have a $2 donor here from Christian. He says, watching a future stud, I'm proud. Thank you, Christian. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. That's nice words you said about me. But yeah, we have another question here. This one is for Daily Dose of Yankees. He says, "What do you think helped cause your success this past season?" I guess this is a solid question that kind of relates to what we were talking about before.
Mhm.
Is there anything in particular that you kind of like credit your kind of emergence to, or is it just kind of a combination of
Um,
multiple things?
I think it was a combination of multiple things. Like I think my like command or like yeah, my command kind of took like a step back. Uh, just had a few too many walks, but then I never really had a changeup until this year, and I kind of labbed that a lot over the pandemic. So having like that weapon, like or in high, I was literally going starts where I wouldn't throw a breaking ball to a righty, and I was just throwing only changeup fastball, and just like working on that. So like having that, and then learning a new slider as well. for lefties. Just something that gets more swings and misses than like the like kind of slurvy breaking ball that I throw. I think having those two definitely helped a lot more.
For sure. For sure. Another question here from Zohybe. This is a good question that I actually wanted to ask you as well. We saw what happened. I think it was after one of the hurricanes this summer. Were you with the Patriots when the stadium got completely flooded?
Yeah, it was.
What was that like? Because we saw the transformation like on social media. It seemed like within the span of a couple of days, it went from being under a couple of feet of water to just being perfectly fine. Were you able to kind of like see that transformation? And also, what was it like afterwards?
Yeah. So we were on the road when it first flooded, so we actually didn't see it until everything had already drained out.
Okay.
But like the field was still like pretty soaked and like it smelled like river water, which I don't know
I
if
can
you
only imagine.
smelled that, but it wasn't the best.
That's horrible. That's horrible.
And it was kind of
But
just like, yeah, just day by day. We were there for 2 days, and then we had to play the first part of the series on the road, so we didn't really see the bulk of like the action. Like we'd see the updates on Twitter and Instagram. Um, but just seeing like how like everything like the dirt parking lot was like covered in dirt. When we got back, like smelled awful. The field like was like there was no standing water, but it was soaked. So
that
just yeah, just the fact that they cleaned that was ridiculous.
that's what I was gonna say, because I was gonna ask, like, I'm sure you guys, if you were on the road, you were kind of just watching on social media like the rest of us. You're on the road, you're like, hey guys, like look at what our stadium looks like. And it's under 3 feet of water. It's probably just like, oh well, there goes the season. But yeah, shout out to the grounds crew in Somerset,
Yeah.
because they really they really got the job done in a great way. But yeah, so I guess kind of going back to, I guess, having a little bit of fun on the mound. If we're kind of bringing it to a little musical direction here, let's say pregame warm up, Ken, you have one song to go to hype you up. What is it?
One song.
One song and one song only.
Oh man, probably if it's a one song, probably like Halfway There by Tiesto.
I
It's
wish
like
I
a
knew
kind
it.
of yeah,
Is it like EDM?
yeah, it's like a pretty
Okay.
like upbeat EDM song. This Blood on the Leaves, Kanye West. That one is
It's a good one.
pretty good too. So I would
It's a
probably
good
say
one.
like one of those two. If you
So
don't
you're
know
a
Halfway
Kanye
There,
fan.
just say yeah. Use my number one on on Apple Music, not Spotify,
Oh,
but
I thought you were gonna say Spotify. Oh
yeah.
man, I'm a
But
Spotify guy.
our knockoff Spotify Wrapped. He's my number one.
You know, isn't it such a shame? Because obviously this is way off topic here, but every year, like Apple sees everyone posting their Spotify Wrapped, and it's so cool. People, that's probably the best part of using Spotify. You see your top artists, top songs. How has
Hmm.
Apple not come up with like their own version of Spotify Wrapped? Because all Apple does, I think, show you your top artists with the hours listened, right?
Yeah, it's the top artists and I believe the top albums as well.
So I guess your top album was Donda.
I don't think it. Shoot, what was it? If I wasn't like using my phone for this, I'd honestly
Yeah,
check right now.
no worries. But
It
yeah,
might have
so
been the what's the Kanye album with the pink background with like Runaway, All the Lights.
oh,
Uh,
my beautiful
yeah,
dark
like
twisted fantasy, right?
yeah, that one.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think
I
that
was
was
gonna
probably
say,
it.
because I was gonna ask you once you said Blood on the Leaves, I was gonna be like, okay, so would you go with CLB or Donda? Just because it's like the question of the year. I'm assuming the answer is Donda, right?
Yeah,
Did you see their concert the other night?
I did. Or I haven't watched all of it. I've seen like snippets, but yeah, parts of it looked like I was like, man, I wish I was there.
I know. I was thinking that too. It's like they got to go on tour, like at
Yeah,
some point. But yeah, definitely awesome. We're kind of off track here, but that's fine. That's what
yeah.
we love doing on the streams here. Not so family fun vision. This is Kanye 2024. There you go. But yeah, so I guess kind of shifting back to baseball a little bit here. We talked a little bit about maybe guys that you saw rehabbing while you were in Double A.
Hmm.
As far as like any experience from being drafted, maybe even in college, what's the best advice you received from either like a current or former player, a coach, Maybe if it's secret advice, don't tell us. But the best piece of advice that maybe you've carried with you through your career and maybe giving you motivation through tough times.
Ooh, let's say that's a tough one. I think there's a lot of good,
Hard-hitting questions here,
things.
Ken.
Yeah. Um, the best advice I'd probably might have heard honestly would might have been from Luis Medina. It's kind of like when I was struggling. He was like Poppy. He was like just keep working hard. It's like God has a plan, and as long as like you're working hard and stick to the process, like stuff. I don't remember the exact phrasing that he used, but like it'll like come to fruition. Like your work will pay off as long as like you
Medina's a
keep on
stud.
sticking to the process. Yeah.
Absolute stud. No, that's awesome. I mean, listen, like you kind of look at, kind of like I mentioned before, you look at all these talented guys in the Yankees organization. How does it feel to kind of be among like such an illustrious class of prospects? Now, do you kind of view it as being honored, as kind of like being in the same class as them, or do you kind of view it as like, wow, there's so much talent. Like, when am I ever going to get my opportunity?
No, definitely the first one. It's just cool to be like honored, like, and just to be able to like play with them all the time. Honestly, like, and just watch them do their thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just it's just entertaining.
Yeah, I mean, we were kind of talking about this before, and you haven't really had any experience with Jason Dominguez, right?
Hmm.
So like you kind of look at a guy like that, and it's like if you ever have to face him, what do you do? Like, what's your
Yeah,
game plan?
yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm not too sure. Shoot, I hope I have a scouting report. Um, and there's some holes maybe, but
Yeah,
or some video that I can watch.
it's just unreal to kind of look at all the talent and kind of just have to go through that on a daily
Yeah.
basis. But especially while you guys are playing like inter squad games and whatnot, because we saw Jason Dominguez absolutely dominate Yankees like minor league pitching while he was going through his inter squad games. I think that was earlier this season, as far as I remember, and the clips were going viral on Twitter. I'd hate to be that
Hmm.
pitcher. I really would. But yeah, so I guess kind of going a little bit off track from baseball a little bit here. You have any hobbies outside of baseball, like especially in the off season? Is there anything that you kind of like pick up and kind of, I don't know, give you some fun on your free time?
Yeah. See, I like to surf a lot. It's been pretty tiny, so I haven't gone in a couple weeks. But like that's probably the biggest hobby, or at least the most fun, one that I
That's
have.
awesome.
Yeah, it's just a good just good like getting out there, like relaxing, just some time away from everything.
You
And
know, I've never been surfing, but one time I took a boogie board out in the water and I said never again, Ken. Have you been surfing like your whole life?
so I learned when I was little, and then I don't know if you know what shore break is, but
No.
it's like so. But usually the waves break far out, but then there's beaches where the waves will break like right into the sand, basically. So I kind of got obsessed with those, and then like I would like boogie board there because like you'll take off and you'll just fly, and then probably not the safest. That's probably why I stick to surfing now because you hit the sand and like you probably break something, but
I can only imagine. I mean, if I'm being honest with you, like I don't really know the terminology with surfing. My only experience with surfing,
uh,
I don't know if you know this. The movie Surf's Up.
I know
Have
that
you ever
movie.
seen it? Okay, with
Yeah.
the penguins that surfing, that's the only experience I ever know surfing with the penguins with the different hair that surf. Other than that, I know nothing. Um, but yeah, so
Yeah.
I guess what
I
we'll
was
do,
just
I have one fun question for you. And then what we'll do is we'll take the last 10 minutes of the stream here, and we'll kind of just chat, get your questions ready because I'm gonna be asking you guys for a bunch of them. So let's go. But we're gonna play a game. We're gonna play a little game here, Ken. I'm gonna give you three famous Kens, and you're gonna tell me your favorite. Fair enough?
let's hear
Listen,
it.
for me, it would be an easy answer, but you never know. So we have Ken Burns, you know, the film director, the baseball documentary, makes documentaries.
Hmm.
Number two, we have Ken Rosenthal. We know Ken Rosenthal, the
Yeah.
reporter. And then number three, this might be an easy one. I probably shouldn't have even put it in here. Ken Griffey Jr. Favorite Ken out of those three? Who are we going with?
Ooh, probably Griffey Jr. Honestly,
Yeah,
yeah,
I shouldn't have
just
even put him in.
great swing, and he was like a star, like growing up, like when I was growing up, and yeah.
Have you I guess you haven't met Griffey, right?
No, no.
I forgot who I was talking to, but someone was telling me that Griffey is one of the most intelligent hitters that they've ever encountered in their life. Like almost kind of like an Ichiro thing. As far as I don't know if you saw the clips going viral of Ichiro kind of dominating the high school team that he went to go show some tips to in Japan. But it's like kind of
Mhm.
engaging with these former players and kind of just picking their brain apart is one of the most important things for young players, I'm assuming, right? Especially like going to spring training and being surrounded by all these former players because the Yankees and other organizations have so many of these past players come in as coaches. That's probably an unreal experience and kind of just an opportunity for so many guys to pick their brain, right?
Yeah, definitely. Because I'll pick guys' brains in the dugout too, and be like, all right, what are you throwing here? Like, if you're the pitcher, and that's just like other guys on the staff. So like, yeah, to pick someone else's brain like that's been there, like, and had success for like decades, like,
Yeah.
must be like you could probably talk. Oh no, am I still here?
You're here, but the screen is black.
Oh wait, there we go. My
I
bad.
think we're good.
Uh,
You got another call?
no, just accidentally swiped up.
Oh, no worries.
But yeah, it must be awesome though to be able to pick their brains, and you probably talk all
Yeah.
as long as they're willing to talk. Honestly,
I would shut up and I would be like, wait, hold on one second. I put my phone in like a little voice memo. I'd be like, okay, just go. I'll be quiet. I'll shut my
yeah.
mouth and we'll go from there. Okay, cool. So that's kind of like all the questions that I did have for you. Like I said, we're gonna ask the chat. If they have any questions, chat, hit me with some. And let's see what we got in here. Listen, Ken, I warned you beforehand. Our chat
Mhm.
is a little bit strange sometimes. So if there's any questions that you don't want to answer, we're not going to answer. But Daily Dose of Yankees with a solid question here. He says, at what point / age did you stop focusing on hitting and only on pitching?
I want to say probably once I got to college. So when I was 18, pitching kind of took the upper hand from the age of 16 and on. But I still would like hit a lot. Just because my goal was to go to college as a two-way player.
Gotcha. So, like your brother.
Yeah,
Gotcha. You ever have you ever faced him?
I I believe I have in like high school. I don't remember what happened. But I think I faced him once, but I'm 2 years older than him, so I think I was 16 and he was 14, and it was just kind of like kind of unfair.
Probably ended in a K. So another question here from Christian. He says, here's a good question. How is it traveling and how does the team handle that? That's actually a good question that I've kind of always wondered. Like, is it a good team bonding experience when you guys are kind of on the road constantly together?
Yeah, definitely. We so usually we bust everywhere. High A, I knew our high A team had to fly from New York to North Carolina. So I'm not too sure how they were with that, but yeah, we'll usually bus either the day before the game or the day of, depending on how long that ride is.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
it's usually the bus rides back are the ones that are more fun, more of the bonding ones. Usually, if it's like on the way there, day of a game, it's like everyone's just trying to sleep or they're like kind of locked in, like looking at scouting reports or whatnot.
I'm sure it also kind of depends on what the result of the series was, right? So obviously the bus ride
Hmm.
back after a sweep is much nicer
Oh
after
yeah,
being swept, right?
yeah. We usually, I don't know if we lost maybe a couple series, but so usually like the bus ride back was pretty fun.
It's awesome. Not so family fun vision here says any superstitions. Now, last time we had Trey Ambergy on, his superstition was that when he was on a hot streak with the Yankees low A affiliate, he would go to Dunkin' Donuts every day, get 2 glazed donuts and a large iced coffee as his superstition. Do you have any superstitions that you might ride when you're kind of feeling good on the mound?
I'm trying to think. Well, the main one I have is like I'll have like 2 cups of coffee uh, before I pitch. It doesn't matter like what size or like or like what brand or anything. It just has to be two separate cups.
Separate
Um,
cups. It can't be one cup that you refill.
or yeah, you can refill it, but like you
Oh,
can't
okay.
like top a cup off, or you can't like not finish one. Like it has to be two just cups of coffee, cold brew, hot, anything.
Apparently,
Um,
Jameson Tyone is a great coffee maker.
all right,
That's what the
yeah,
rumor is.
that
So just throwing
yeah,
that out there.
it's really like the only day I'll like drink it,
So
but I love coffee though.
now I kind of look at coffee like in my own mind. I'm way too jittery as it is for coffee. Now, obviously, I guess maybe that helps you on the mound, kind of just being like
Hmm.
a little bit more energized than usual.
Yeah, I feel like I'm usually pretty laid back, so I kind of need the extra caffeine to like kind of get me like feeling like twitchy and like ready to compete and all that.
Yeah. But also sometimes kind of being laid back is like something great to have as a pitcher, right? Like we kind of talked about Madison Bumgarner and how
Hmm.
pitching game 7 of the World Series in like your 5th game in the series, kind of just his cool, calm composure brought him to the promised land essentially.
Yeah, like I still try to stay composed and whatnot. Um, but yeah, it's just like I feel like I move like so slow without it, and so if I'm gonna lift or
Gotcha.
throw like a high intent bullpen or something, like I need it.
Um Listen, Sprinting Water has a question. Now, I don't know if you want to toot anybody else's horn here, but is there any specific hitter that you faced who was maybe
Ooh,
the toughest all season?
I'm trying to think. Definitely it's probably either Spencer Torkelson or Adley Rutschman. Um, I think I have to go Rutschman just because. So the first at bat I had him and I beat him in, and second bat I faced him, I beat him in first pitch. I was like, all right, like I've got this down. And the third at bat I had him 1-1, and I threw him a fastball and changeup, and I missed in. Didn't mean to go in, but I missed in, and like you could tell like from the video, he knew it was coming in, and he hit the ball probably a mile, and I was like from his like quote unquote like weak side, and I was like, all right, this is why he's Adley Rutschman.
Yeah, it's so unreal, but also at the same time, it's kind of like we've been saying all stream. It's a great learning experience to go up against like the best of the best in the minor leagues. Probably great, even though he does hit
Yeah,
the ball a mile. It's probably like awesome to learn from, right?
yeah, definitely a learning experience. It kind of just
Um,
showed like it's more about making the right pitch call than or like the right pitch decision than like executing what pitch you throw.
Yeah. One question that I have, I know we have a lot of them in the chat, but we were talking kind of before we went live here. Last name Waldichuk, right? Now,
Hmm.
obviously, awesome last name. I'm glad I pronounced it properly. You have any nicknames?
Trying to think like
Like
Waldy,
Waldy.
Waldo,
I was
yeah,
gonna say
Waldy,
Waldy's a good
Waldo,
one.
yeah.
Okay,
Those
now
are probably the main two ones. No one's
I'm gonna
really.
be honest with you. Like
Mhm.
chat's gonna rip me to shreds for this because they hate when I'm corny. But I think I have a solid new nickname for you. You want to hear it?
Let's hear it.
Okay, ready? So how much wood could a wood Ken chuck if Walden Ken Chuck could chuck wood? It's really
Yeah,
bad. It's really bad. I'm combining your first name and last name, but I think it's okay.
it's not bad. I think we put that on a shirt, honestly.
We might have to. We might have to put that on the shirt and go with it. But we have some other like solid things. Waldo's World. Where's Waldy?
Yeah.
And then they're giving me L's for the joke. So that's fine. I'm used to it by now. But we have a couple of donos in the chat that we got to hit on too. Um, let's see. We got Logan Jones with the $5 dono. Appreciate you so much, Logan. He says, can you give kids advice when they first start to pitch of what to do and what not to do?
I think definitely what to do is like to just try to fill up the zone, throw strikes. Uh, as far as I would say, yeah, throw strikes. Try to throw it as hard as you can, uh, and just like kind of just make sure like you're keeping your arm healthy. I would say those are the big three.
Yeah.
What not to do, I guess, is definitely don't throw like breaking balls if you're like, I don't know, like 10 years old. But yeah, don't be nervous. Just kind of go out there, have fun, and just remember like the game can't go on if you don't throw the ball.
I would say it's pretty solid advice, especially from someone who doesn't know anything about pitching. Now I do.
Yeah.
And listen, chat, can we relax? Just died from embarrassment. I just cringed so hard from that. Dude, it wasn't that bad. Okay, chat? Chill. Ken likes it. We're putting it on a shirt. So I'm not giving you guys any shirts. You're not even going to be able to buy it. So another question that I guess I have is have you been like recognized anywhere?
Um, Not recognize. Like I've like gone out to like say like games or something, and someone like I haven't seen in like 8 years is like, oh, like Ken, like what's up? And I'm like, oh, like shoot, I remember playing with you in like middle school. But yeah, that's probably the extent that no one's like gone up to me in public, like outside of a stadium or whatnot, and been like, oh, you're Ken Waldichuk, like you
Does
signed something.
Does that make you nervous? Like that might be something that'll happen in the future?
Uh, Probably not. No,
No. Like, because I would assume maybe
I think
being
I'd be
laid
pretty
back,
cool
it's
with
like
it.
you wouldn't maybe want that kind of attention, you know?
Yeah, I'd probably be pretty cool with it. Especially like the first time or two.
Yeah. Richard has a really good nickname that I think I might go with from now on. Walden Musk. I'm a big fan. Richard, you get a
That's
gold
not
star
bad.
for tonight because that's a really good one. Because when I first saw you, I was like, wow, he looks really familiar. And I guess maybe the facial hair kind of threw me off. Once
Hmm.
you said Elon Musk, I was like, wow, that's unreal. Unreal. Um, Platty, I would ask him what his walk-up song would be, but I'd assume it's probably either one of the two that you mentioned as like your pregame song, right?
Oh, we actually didn't have walk-up songs this year, so
Oh, really?
I yeah. The last one I had was "Hustlin'" by Rick Ross back in college.
Awesome. I like that one. I like that. So let's see. Hillel says, "Hey Ken, saw you pitch. You're great. How do you pace yourself on the mound?"
Thanks. I was to say on the mound, it kind of like try to just go with the flow. Like if things are rolling, I'm trying to work as fast as possible. I'm trying to take advantage of like that momentum. And things if things aren't rolling and they're doing the opposite, then I'm kind of like just trying to buy time, kind of slow down the game, just let stuff settle, and then yeah, just try to get out of it.
Yeah. I like obviously I said this so many times tonight. I'm not a pitcher, but I'd assume kind of pacing yourself and just being comfortable on the mound is probably the most important thing, right?
Yeah, like I think the worst thing you can do as a pitcher is like speed yourself, get caught up and like speed the game up, and then you get taken out after a bad start, and you're standing there bench like, what even just
Yeah.
happened?
Yeah, that I mean, that's probably the worst feeling in the world, right? Being taken out early for a bad start and then having to sit in that for like 5 days until you get your next one, right?
Yeah,
So that's why we try to avoid that as much as possible.
exactly.
Taco Nacho with a question. We kind of touched on this earlier, but is it any pressure? Is it any extra weight on your shoulders being considered a top 10 prospect in the organization?
I don't really think so. I think it's just more of a, like an honor. Yeah, I mean, obviously the goal is like to make it up there. So I'm sure like, if I'm like closer to there, then there'll be more pressure. But right now it's just about getting better and getting closer to that goal.
Gotcha. We have two more questions in the chat that I like, and I think we're gonna hit on before we wrap things up for today. One of them, $2 dono from Orphanage Builder to Grom. Appreciate you with the dono, my man. And I could tell this might be a little bit of a biased question, but he says, "What's up, Ken? Who is the best pitcher in baseball?" And I guess he means currently.
Yeah. uh, yeah, I might have to say DeGrom. Like if we're talking just best pure stuff, uh, like watching like him work earlier in the year, especially that game where I think he went like what was it was some crazy number, like complete game shutout, like 16 strikeouts, and he had
Every
like
game.
and he had like 2 RBIs. I was like, man,
Yeah, I mean, it's
that's
like he
unreal.
carried the Mets on his shoulders this season, and that's why it's so sad to see these guys kind of go down with injuries, and his whole
Mhm.
season was over after that. Guys like Mike Trout too, kind of like we were talking about before. Some of the best talent in the game. It's brutal not being able to watch them play during a full season.
Yeah.
Lori with the $5 dono. Appreciate you so much, Lori. She says, "Who is your favorite teammate?" Well done, Patrick. Thank you, Lori. Now listen, Ken, if you don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, you don't have to. But if you have a favorite teammate or a couple favorite teammates that you want to give a shout out to, go for it.
I'll say, and probably Hayden Wesneski. He was actually the one that called me and broke up our the whole connection in the beginning.
Oh, really?
But yeah, he was my roommate in 2018, and now I play video games with him a lot, which I'm assuming that's what that call was about. And
What's your
then,
go-to video game?
oh man, I might get some slack for this, but League of Legends.
I, Ken, I've heard
It's
about this game so much. I've never played it in my life.
it. You're probably better off not playing it.
That's great.
It's frustrating. But yeah, we're roommates there. Roommates 2021 in high got moved up together. Roommates there. But yeah, I would say him. I would say shout out him. Uh, I guess shoot, I'm pretty cool with most of the guys from my draft class that I played with. So like Zach Green, uh, and Luis Medina, Johnny Brito,
Everyone,
Ryan
shout out to everyone.
Anderson. Yeah, shout out everyone.
And listen, before we do wrap things up tonight, we have Orphanage Builder to Grom with another $2 dono. Great dono to finish things off here. Says kid knows some stuff, move him up to the big leagues. Hopefully soon. Listen, if you guys know Ken, he's on the fast track to the majors here. His stuff is awesome. Great career so far. It's only going to continue to improve from here. Obviously, awesome personality as well. Ken, thanks for joining us tonight. I think that's going to wrap up this stream tonight. Hope the chat didn't scare you off a little bit too much. I think you guys were on your best behavior tonight, so I like that. But yeah, I think that's going to wrap things up. Appreciate you all for stopping by. Everyone, be sure, like, comment, subscribe, turn on post notifications for more. Hopefully, we see a lot more of Ken throughout the 2022 season now. It feels weird. It's almost 2022. But yeah, wish you the best of luck, Ken, and hopefully we could maybe do some more content in the future.
Yes, sir.
All right.
It was
Have a good
fun.
night, everybody. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. See you all next time. Peace.